Welcome, everyone. It's already September. Schools are back in session. The Horned Frogs are undefeated, and it's a beautiful day in Fort Worth. We're so pleased that everyone could join us today for the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. We have a full program today, so we're going to get started with our invocation given by Brad Nowlin, therapist, Fort Worth Counseling, and playing the national anthem is Calvin Dennis, Business Performance Advisor Insperity. Okay, Brad?
Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for all of our many blessings. Let us see each other through a lens of love and light, where we can exemplify the Rotary ideals of service over self. Help us to visualize the light in others as well in ourselves as we strive to better each one of us in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Brad, and welcome Calvin, who has answered the call to join our wonderful team of pianists. We appreciate that. Welcoming our guest today is Jared Williams, Vice President, Government and External Relations, Tarrant Area Food Bank. Jared? Where's Jared? Oh, he's coming. Here's Jared.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Rotarians. It is my distinct pleasure to be able to welcome our guest of honor today. Now, I'm under strict orders from Aurora that I have to do this quickly because we have so many guests. But please do not take or misinterpret my speed for a lack of appreciation for you. We have Cody Palmer, would you stand and be recognized? Guest of Drew Carlton. Zoe Metcalf, guest of Kathy Neese Brown. Dorothy Wing, guest of Michelle Krim. John Rhodes, guest of Egg Macklin. Madeline, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, Matchak. Is that close? Okay, all right. Guest of Ed Macklin, Lee Hecker, also guest of Ed. Ed, I'm just gonna say all of these next guests are from you. Ryan Perucci, and also Adam Keith. Thank you, Ed, for inviting so many people. We also have Shaquise McAfee, from guest of Jim Austin. Hello, good to see you. We also have Tracy Marshall, guest of Randall Howard, and several other guests from Randall Howard, Sultan Cole, Christian Rivera, as well as Donald Johnson. Thanks again, Randall. We also have Kimberly Hernandez, guest of Rosa Maria Berdeja. We also have Arlen Sims, guest of Joshua Friend. Grace Lewis, guest of Paulie Russell. Courtney Stanford, guest of John Laudenslager. Demetrius I'm gonna mess this up, forgive me, Karamikis, guest of Victor Neal, and two more, y'all. We also have Pablo Villa Martinez. He is a guest of from the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Rotary Club, and he's had 2 Rotary Club meetings today, so welcome, my friend. And then lastly, Dawn, guest of Dr. Rachel Capua. These are our guests, Madam President. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope to see y'all again.
Thank you, Jared, and we're very pleased to have so many people here. David, this is a good sign. I think they all came to hear you. Before we proceed with the program, I'd like to take a minute and thank our program sponsor, R.D. Howard Construction. For 79 years, R.D. Howard has done concrete work, general contracting, and construction management for dozens of Fortune 500 companies, hundreds of federal, state, and local government agencies, and thousands of businesses all over Texas and 5 other states, allowing them to put hundreds of thousands of dollars back into our community. Their proudest job was building our new City Hall, teamed as the prime contractor with Lindbeck. Think Howard for all your construction needs. Thank you, Randall. We're so glad you and your guests from R.D. Howard are here today. Now, please join me as we say Rotary's 4-way test, which guides us in all we think, say, and do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We have quite a few announcements today, starting with a Board of Directors report from our last board meeting at the end of August. First, we approved the July financial statements. Second, we received a membership update and approved a leave of absence for 2 members. We received committee reports, and thank you to our chairman for all the information. Our committees are really hard at work. And number 4, we approved the committee charters for all 16 committees. And as an aside, if you are a committee chairman, please see me after the meeting to sign your new approved charter. Number 5, we heard reports on the Public Image Workshop and the Rotary Vibrant Club Workshop. Number 6, we approved a new program called 4-Way Donor Fundraising. 7, we discussed guidelines for our newscast. 8, we amended bylaws of both the Children's Fund and the Endowment Fund to align with the Rotary Club of Fort Worth bylaws. Number 9, we approved the budget for the 2025-26 year. And 10, we heard informational reports on merchandise sales, our new social media specialist, the nominating committee, and golf tournament. Your board of directors meets every month, and there's always a full agenda. We will continue to present a report on the board meetings every month. If you have questions, please feel free to ask any board member. Their names are here on the screen. And I'd like to add a personal thank you to all of our board members, because in addition to their board duties, they work with our committees, they volunteer in various ways, and often represent our club in the community. We appreciate your dedication to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. And now, for a new segment of our weekly meetings, I mentioned our hardworking committees, all 18 of them. Like the board, they want to share with the membership what they are doing, so I'm pleased to present our first committee spotlight. Today's spotlight is on the Finance Committee, which is chaired by our treasurer, Jason Ellis, Senior Vice President, Commercial Lending, Plains Capital Bank. Jason, tell us what the Finance Committee's doing.
Well, out of the 18 committees, I can set the bar pretty low for the Finance Committee. Oh dear. See what I mean? It's a dangerous job being the chair of the Finance Committee. And I've got 2 minutes, so I'll try to run through these pretty quickly. The Finance Committee was established in 2019 by a handful of folks, really more as a task force than a committee, as we were kind of in financial struggles. So a group of Mike Baylor, Don Boren, Fernando Costa, Gary Cumby, Pat Hawkins, and then Tran Trong was our founding chairperson, came together to form the Finance Committee. Then they were doing a lot more than we are now. Now it's, they had a lot on their plates. Now we're doing more really driven to our purpose, which is to provide oversight of the finances of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. So a few of our assigned tasks. A big one is develop the annual budget, which we just did and the board just approved. I'll kind of go through that in a second. And then the other task is every month we get together and review the financial statements that are going. Anything else? We have cash flow and investment accounts that we deal with. Any special funding requests that may come about throughout the year that are not included in the budget, we may review those as well. Try to, at time, if we need to take a look at where our dues at, what our membership's driving, we may look at that as well. And then, of course, we're at the beck and call of the board and President Ann. So that's kind of at a high level of what we do. Committee, we tend to carry 6 to 7 regular committee members. This year, it's I serve as the chair. Ann is also a committee member as both the president and as the past treasurer. Gary Cumby serves on the committee with us. He was again, a founding charter member, and he's in his second year. Regina Fodden, Janet Hahn, Mike Herman, Ed Macklin, and Mark Nurden also serve on the committee. So, and we try to get folks from various industries, not just on the financial bent, but get various perspectives of what's going on. So provide some insight on the committee. If you're interested, we will invite those to express interest. And again, as folks roll off, we would love to roll folks back on. We have ex officio members as well. Aurora serves in that role. Tom Law is our president-elect. He serves in that role. He attends those meetings. And then Mike Baylor and James Emmons are both CPAs and kind of help put the books together and do that for us, so that are in the weeds. At a high level, here's a summary statement of kind of where we were at fiscal year end of last year. You'll notice, and we've talked about it, we operate as three separate entities. You've got the Rotary Club, which is the operating entity, and that's what you sit in here. And then our 501c3s are the Children's Fund and the Endowment Fund, and that's where we have investment funds sitting, and we do grants and giving out of that. So when you contribute as a member to our foundations, that's where that money goes, and then your dues actually go to the operating side there. So you'll see we try to run at a net neutral number. We were at a little bit of a deficit last year, but a big part of what you'll see, a big part of our income is the dues. So as a membership organization, you are the driving ship behind our financials. So there's that. From that, we can move to the budget, which we just approved. Again, when we go into the budget side, there's some variables that we look at, but all in all, we try to match it up. Whatever we bring in, that's what we spend. So, of course, the driver is the membership, and that goes up and down, but we want to be consistent really with the membership. And what's kind of interesting, no matter what numbers come in, the financial committee or the finance committee, we look at the dollars, but it always comes back to the people and the relationships. And so the membership is what drives the financial side. So we try to be transparent. You can find the audited numbers always posted on the website underneath the membership area. We're happy to answer questions, provide any of the information that you might want, but we do try to provide a level of transparency, so I can answer any questions that you may have after the meeting. So with that, there's 7 minutes. There you go.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you to Chris Jordan. It's always a little scary when someone comes to the podium with a dinner knife, but he's fixed the backdrop. Okay, now we have several announcements. First up is Connie Blake, President, Generational Design, followed by Rotarian Key Bryant with information on the Trash Bash. Connie.
Hello, everyone. Another opportunity in September to serve your community. I like to think, I don't know if you've received the information, some of the great things in the mail from Rotary International, but there's one that says, doing good together. I think that really says about who we are. So we have some opportunities to do good together in the community. We've already made this announcement. We're going to make it again. Sonitas Del Summer to help our historic North Side neighbors with this music festival. There's still quite a few volunteer opportunities out there. There's a QR code that will take you to the link to sign up. AV support, first aid, vendor setup. And when Rosie sponsored this entire series, Rosie Berdeja, she said it's a ton of fun. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your grandkids, and do good together in the community. Key?
I've been to one of those events. They're fabulous, so you must go. And you should also volunteer. Good afternoon. The Community Service Committee is looking for volunteers to join us at the 2025 Tarrant Regional Water District Trash Bash at the Panther Pavilion on Saturday the 20th. That is 2 Saturdays from this week. It's a great way to serve the community and protect our waterways. Coffee and breakfast will be served, and volunteers should make sure they have on long pants. We are kind of trudging through beside the river. Long pants, hats, your Rotary shirt, of course, and gloves, if you don't like cooties like I don't. Bring your grabbers if you're not one to do a lot of bending, but it's a great opportunity for fellowship and volunteerism. If you're interested, I'm not sure if Greg is here today. There he is. See myself or Greg after the meeting. Greg preferably, because I'm going to be headed over to another meeting right after this. I'd love to see everybody show up. 10 is the goal. 20 would be great. Raise your hand if you're going to come. No, you don't have to do it all at one time, but see you there. Thank you. Look at, you see those hands? There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie and Key. And there's more. We also have President-elect Tom Law, Managing Broker and Director of Property Management, VCL Commercial Real Estate, who's going to give us an update on the Crazy Pants Golf Tournament. Tom.
That's right, Ann, and you don't want to miss this event. This is a really big event this year, and it's coming up pretty quickly, faster than you know. October 20th is the actual day. We'll do the event, Crazy Pants Golf Tournament, at the Ridgely Country Club North Course this year. We normally played on the South Course, but that is being remodeled. A couple days before that, Friday evening, we have a very nice event over at Audubon. It's kind of the opening event, and that's where you will get your crazy pants actually that day. So we still need sponsorships on this. We've got quite a few very generous people, but we need some more, and especially we'd like to have more teams out there as well. It's a fun event, and it's well worth it. Also, we are having folks out there during the day that just want to out there socialize, like myself, and run around during it. 2 meals, lunch and dinner, and drinks as well. So please consider this. If y'all have any questions about it, I'm on the committee. We have a number of other people on the committee. Just ask us about it, and we'll tell you more about it. So thank you very much. Don't forget that date, October 20th.
Thank you, Tom. As you can see, there's a lot going on with this Rotary Club. And we're lucky in that we have the ability to pick and choose, or you can go to all of them. Be even better. Just go to everything. And now, Secretary Karen Telshaw Johnson, owner-principal of Telshaw Johnson Law, PLLC, will join us for second readings and votes. Karen.
We have 6 of them today, so that is wonderful. Yay, right? Incredible. All right, number 1, Lopez, president and co-owner of T&D Geomatics, classification land serving, proposer Rosa Marie Berdeja. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
Is there, we have a motion, is there a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The motion carries, and she is hereby elected.
Welcome. All right, so number 2. Shadi Kalani, Divisional Dean, Tarrant County College, Classification Higher Education. Proposer Jason Ray. I move the election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I saw Harriet with a second. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and she is hereby elected. We welcome her.
All right, congratulations. All right, so 3rd, Christopher Reedus, Manager, CleanJet LLC, classification, commercial cleaning, proposer, RLK RMBA, 2025 award winner. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion carries, and he is elected. Welcome to Christopher.
All right, and number 4, Serena Oliver, co-founder, MOOV USA, luggage manufacturing and retail classification, proposer, again, RLK RMBA 2025 award winner. I move the election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? Then we have a member who is elected. Welcome.
Yay! So number 5, Demetrica Williams, founder and president, Vasse Rendezvous, outdoor events and entertainment, RLK RMBA 2025 award winner. I move for election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion carries and she is elected. We welcome her.
Congratulations. Last but not least, Stay Hall, CEO, Institute for Success and Leadership Training, iSalt LLC, Classification, Coaching, and Development, proposer, RLK RMBA 2025 award winner. I move the election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
I have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion carries and we welcome Stay.
Congratulations to all.
It's wonderful to have all of these new members. We are now very pleased to present 3 new Rotarians who have already completed their new member information sessions and are ready to be introduced by their proposers. We'll begin with Kathy Niece Brown, Senior Director of Development, Institutional Advancement, UNT Health College of Nursing, and UNT Health Foundation. She will be followed by Michelle Krim, President, Dynamic Development Strategies. Then we will hear from past President Mark Nurden, Executive Managing Director of Cadence Bank. Kathy, Michelle, and Mark, please introduce our new Rotarians, and I would remind everyone to stay, all the proposers and new members, to stay on the stage for a quick photo after your introductions are complete. Kathy.
Gotcha. Okay. You looked terrified when they did my introduction. I don't know how I feel about that. You were like, oh boy. We had some conversation before the meeting started. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome Cheryl Harding as a member of the Rotary Club. Dr. Harding is the president and CEO of the James L. West Center for Dementia Care in Fort Worth. I spent the last 13 years as a senior leader on her staff, leaving as her chief strategy officer to join UNT Health. It is a privilege to work for a leader who invests in your success and truly understands the mission of an organization. And Cheryl is a gift to this community as she steered James L. West through the pandemic. With a truly vulnerable audience and a staff of over 200 people that really rose to the challenge. And so while she has tremendous accolades, I can't say enough about her as a mentor and a friend and now a Rotarian. And so I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you all for welcoming me to the Rotary Club. I'm honored to be here. I have spent the last 30 years in nonprofit leadership serving older adults, and I plan to continue doing that. And I'm very grateful to be, for James L. West to be the recipient of the golf tournament proceeds this year. So thank you for welcoming me.
Hey friends, happy Friday. Please join me in doing a Snoopy happy dance to welcome Lauren to our club. She's the executive director of the Mindful Project and brings more than 6 years of experience in executive coaching and corporate wellness, with a strong focus on helping public sector employees manage stress and trauma through mind-body practices. She is also an active community member who enjoys weightlifting, yoga, reading, volunteering, meditation, and spending time outdoors. Now, I've been lucky enough to know Lauren for several years, and I'll actually work with her about 1.5 years with her nonprofit coaching. And she is somebody that is eager to learn. She's curious about life. She's been interested in Rotary for a long time, and she also looks forward, y'all paying attention to this, to engaging with committees where she can be of help. Y'all got that, right? Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I met my husband 25 years ago, and he's from Waco, Texas. And we were living in Scottsdale, and I said, just for the record, we are never moving to Texas. And fast forward to 2009, and we've been in Fort Worth since 2009, and we'll probably never leave. We love it so much. We have a daughter who's a sophomore at Pascal High School and a son who's a freshman at UT Austin School of Business. And I'm just really excited to get into Rotary a little bit more. I'm so impressed with the members. I'm impressed with the speakers. I'm impressed with the food. I mean, it's, you know? And I love the backbone of service. It's always really important to me in everything I do to serve from the bottom of my heart as much as possible. I was reminded when I got here about the thing no one knows about me, or that was it? My fun fact, right. No one actually knows this except my family, but I have met and studied with the Dalai Lama not once, but twice in my life. So now you guys all know that. So thank you so much.
Okay, I don't believe Mark made it today, so we're going to just proceed with giving a warm welcome to Cheryl and Lauren. While up the photo, if you know of persons who are interested in serving our community through membership in the Rotary Club of Fort Worth, please invite them to one of our meetings. If they're interested in joining Rotary, our membership committee led by Deanna Stewart and Rebecca Montgomery will take it from there and visit with them about membership requirements. We welcome new members and encourage you to invite others to join us and live the Rotary Club motto, service above self. So welcome again, Cheryl and Lauren. Okay, folks, it's now time to turn over the podium to our chairman of the day, Tran Trong, retired executive Alcon and the editor of the Rotograph, who will introduce today's speaker. Tran?
Well, thank you, President Ann. Before I start, I'd like to ask Ann a question. What's your secret of getting such a good-looking crowd today? A big one, too. Okay. Well, I'd like to, you hear our speaker mention this gentleman in his presentation, but I'd like to recognize a colleague of mine here who's the author of the book that you'll be hearing about, Dr. Tom McDonald. Tom, please stand up, sir. Yeah. So you hear more during David's presentation. But so where were you on April 16 of 2021? Where were you? I know David knows. Several of you were here. That's when the last time our speaker was here speaking to us, April 16 of 2021. We had just gotten out of the pandemic. So, and at that time, in my introduction, I mentioned a national survey that asked Americans some of the illnesses, diseases that we fear the most that might happen to us or our loved ones. And the answers come back, some of the expected ones, you know, cancer, heart diseases, dementia. But there's one item that's high on the sensory list, and that's diminishing vision, the fear of going blind, think about it. But you know, very fortunate for us and the world, there's one company that's founded right here in Fort Worth, just a few miles from here, that's been dedicating to preventing blindness and improve vision, and that's Alcon for almost 80 years now. And to tell you more about the Alcon story is the CEO of Alcon. And let me tell you a little bit more about him. Mr. Endicott joined Alcon as its Chief Operating Officer in 2016, and he became the CEO 2 years later. But before that, he had over 25 years of top leadership position in the industry as president of a Pfizer company and an officer with Allergan's, another major ophthalmic and vision care company. There, David spent over 25 years in top leadership positions worldwide. A graduate of Whitman College in Washington State with a degree in chemistry, David also received a master's in business administration from the University of Southern California. So without further ado, please join me in giving a rousing Rotary welcome to our returning speaker, David J. Endicott.
Thank you, Tran. Appreciate that. And first of all, I should say thank you, President Sheets. Thank you for inviting us. We're always pleased to be here. It's a real shared honor to talk about our business. We run a purpose-led business, and I think that's one of the great overlaps, I think, between Rotary and many of the businesses that certainly grow up thinking about what it is you can do for the community. So it's always a pleasure to be with you, and I'll try and give you some insights, I think, at least of where we've been. And we have a kind of a unique relationship with Fort Worth, obviously, because if you don't know the story exactly, I'll give you just a couple of pieces. This is a fantastic shot. It's not actually the Main Street location where we started, but originally this company was founded in '45, and you can see these two young gentlemen here, William Connor and Robert Alexander. And I'm fascinated by this because you stole my joke, and I was trying to work it out, how I was going to work it in, but I'm going to just do it now. The name of the company, of course, is Alcon. It was the first, it was Al and Connor, right? So they put the names together because Billy and Bob had already been taken. But Tran told me that joke while I'm in the line, and I was losing. I lost the whole thing there as I was going through it, thinking, how am I going to work this back in? Because you took my joke. It was great. It's an old joke over at the building, but we love the place and we love these guys because they were really, really interesting entrepreneurs. And if you're going to hear a little bit about Tom's book, and Dr. McDonald is a great piece of our history as well, and has written a book that we're going to share with you about the history. But the first 25 years it took really Mr. Connor and Mr. Alexander to go from zero to about $30 million. And if you think through what enterprises look like in the very early phases, there's a great book called Barbarians to Bureaucrats. And in the very early phases of creating businesses, it takes a certain personality. And these gentlemen were, really the kind of Wild West of, entrepreneurial, really aggressive, very smart, high risk taking, mortgaged their houses, went on the road, sold their wares, built the company, and it took it from like 0 to 30. And then, of course, everybody knows Ed Schulmeyer, who picked it up after that. And Ed took it from 30 million to 2 billion when he retired. The rest of us are just kind of living through right now what was a tremendous legacy, and an honor to kind of work with them. The company that that is down off Alta Mesa really was for a long time just a pharmacy sitting right over here on 7th. So if you go behind the building over here, where 7th and 6th cross, and there's that triangle where 61 Osteria is, and for those of you who know that restaurant, right in front of that was that pharmacy, and their big innovation was, of course, drive-through pharmacy, because at that time, you used to have to walk up and you couldn't work it out. So this was one of the really cool parts of what they were doing, but they figured out very quickly, because they were good at formulation, that they could formulate eye drops. And in those days, eye drops were difficult. They were done in a glass case, that was basically a little, tiny little, you guys remember the old eyedroppers, and you had a little rubber stopper, and if you tipped it over, it would break. But they ultimately sold that product around the South, around Texas, built it out, started selling it around the US, but their main innovation became what I think Tran may have worked on, at least somewhere along the way, which was the plastic bottle. And so all of those stoppers and all of those glass, eyedroppers went away, we built something called the drop tainer. And that drop tainer became, a big deal in terms of how you formulate and create eye drops and then run them around the world, because it became obviously much more of a scalable business if you could ship those things without destruction. We obviously have a long history here, and I won't go through it all, but other than to say that we along the way, we're public. We went public, with Ed Schulmeyer and a number of the guys that really built it beyond that. But ultimately, Nestle took a big chunk of it, the majority stake in it. We stayed on the market at the same time, but was a very good owner of ours. So those of you who know us, we're kind of Texas Swiss. We're Texas first, but we happen to reside, our domicile, our tax domicile is now Switzerland. But it has been for really since Nestle owned us. And similarly, when they sold their stakes to Novartis, we did that. And then I came, about 10 years ago to really start the spin out and return the company out of Novartis into the public market. So we did the spin out in 19, and we've had, a nice run since then. All of this is captured in a much more elegant way, by Dr. McDonald. So we've got some books in the back. I think, Tom, you're gonna actually even volunteer to sign some stuff if you don't mind. But it's a cool history, and it's a cool piece of Fort Worth history in particular. So if you get a chance and you want one, grab them. They're free, but they're really a beautiful piece of work. And Tom's taken a lot of time to write 420 pages or so of Alcon history, if you're interested. So thank you, Tom, for doing that for us. Appreciate it. Just a quick run at who we are and where we are, at least at this point, and then I'll talk a little bit just briefly about what's really happening in Fort Worth and around the world for eye care. We've operated in a very healthy market. We are the largest eye care player in the world. We have a very significant surgical business that revolves principally around cataract and refractive surgery, but also retinal surgeries in the event that you need one. If you're in the United States, probably 80% chance you'll get one of our products. We have a very high share of what we call phacoemulsification, which is the machinery that takes the cataract out. We have a very high share of the advanced technology lenses that go into the eye that serve to replace the crystalline lens. And we have a very, very high share of a retinal product. If you need a vitrectomy and you have to take the old vitreous out and put new material in, then we've got about 80 share of that in the US. So around the world, we do a lot in the surgical business. Vision care is a growing business for us. Along the way, Novartis granted us the contact lens business. That has been a very good business for us. We hate saying this, but we are second to Johnson & Johnson. Those Jersey boys are still hanging in there pretty tough, but we're growing faster than they are. And anyway, it's a nice business for us. And one of the cool parts of our vision care business is as we spun out of Novartis, we had to leave the pharmaceutical business behind, but we have in the past 4 or 5 years begun our way back into the pharmaceutical. So many of you will have known us as a pharmaceutical business. That's how we started. It became very much a medical device company, very much of a kind of medical device and OTC company, and now we're really beginning to move back, and I'll talk a little bit about the pharmaceutical business in a minute. This business for us is really driven in a very specific way. We spend a lot of time talking about this, but one of the kind of unique ideas, that is kind of Porter-esque in business lore is this notion of focus and focus on one or two things really being the kind of critical idea. We do eye care, and I sometimes get asked, are we a pharmaceutical company, are we a medical device company, are we an OTC company, consumer company? We're none of those. We're actually an eye care company, and I say that because the people who work for us, the 30,000 or so folks that work with us, basically know the eye. And the idea, of course, is that if we know more about the markets that will develop for eye disorders or for opportunities in eye care, and we know more about the technologies that could solve problems in those areas, then we can be faster to deploy capital there, more effective. And if our batting average is a little bit better than everybody else's on that process, then we're going to win. And so we spend a lot of time talking about the people of the company, not because because it always sounds really great. Our HR director loves it, but it really is because the talent in this community and around the world, is extraordinarily high on our expertise in this particular zone called eye care. And what it does allow us to do is make good decisions by leveraging that knowledge about what we develop and spend money on. So we spend about $1 billion a year on our own R&D. We generate a couple $2 billion of cash flow that we deploy into largely business development activities, and we do that on the back of people who make those decisions. And so we rely on that expertise at the very core of who we are. That's how we generate value. And that then turns into, you know, how well do we create data? Of course, that's on people. How well do we globalize and commercialize? We have the largest global footprint in the world, so we do a really good job of managing our folks around the world to get these products up into the hands of patients who need them. And then obviously, if we do that really well, we make some money, we put it back in R&D. And if we're doing the most R&D in the world, and we do, we sponsor more R&D in a year than the NIH does. People want to work with us, and we get people to come to Fort Worth, and that's the beauty of this thing. So if we do this whole thing right, it's a circular argument that builds on itself. We get the right people, they make the right decisions, they build a great company. Everybody wants to come do stuff that's on the front edge of science and what's going on in eye care. So that's really the strategy at the core of it. And I was here a while back. I didn't realize it was 21, but we were just coming out of the pandemic at that time. And I think at the time I didn't really have a lot to show you kind of where we started and where we finished. But from the spin out, you kind of see the progress we've made. You know, we talk a lot about it internally. I think the market has very much mostly been interested in that 17.2 to 20.6, but I would tell you that the real interesting part of this company has been our ability to kind of work through 4 or 5 years of really significant investment. We put almost every dollar that we earned in cash flow back into the business for probably the first 5 years. That was largely because Novartis had kind of mostly kept the cash for themselves and done other things with it. As we recapitalized, it allowed us to generate, you know, a lot of growth. And now we're in this place where we're growing kind of mid-single digits, a little bit higher than that. We've said recently we'll grow 6 to 8% a year for probably the next 5 years. Our bottom line is growing roughly about 14%, 15%. We'll grow in the teens, you know, through that same stretch, and we're generating a couple of $1 billion of cash now a year. So we've got the flywheel moving again. And, you know, one of the kind of great satisfying things is to see the company emerge out of what was a difficult multinational setting where eye care was just a small bit of what Novartis is a really great company, but a very big company and has lots of priorities. But to get back to where we could invest, you know, here and do things that matter to the world, you know, right out of little Fort Worth, right? So, I mean, it's a cool environment for us, and it's great to get back into control of this situation. So we're in a good place right now. This is kind of where I think maybe I was asked to speak, and I'll just speak a little bit to what's going on. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about patients. We know a lot about these disorders, but foundationally, there's a great deal that's going on. I'm going to cover a couple of these things in some detail, but I would just say to start with, you know, our surgical business continues to be centered around mostly eye care surgeries. And we just, many of you may know, we just bought a company called STAR, which is really about refractive surgery. So we make most of the lasers that do LASIK. We do another thing called an intercolumnar lens, which is a secondary lens that goes into the eye if you're really myopic, if you're -6 or more, tough to make LASIK work for you. So we do a lot in that area. We do a lot in cataract surgery, and we do a lot in vitret. But we're also doing a great deal of stuff in building out what I would think is really kind of an exciting area, which is things that would prevent corneal transplant. Now, let me just talk a little bit about 2 of these. I'm going to start on the right, and then I'll come back to the left. We've been spending a lot of time. One of the really, you know, disappointing things is that in the world today, there are not enough corneas to treat corneal needs. So if you are blinded from a chemical burn or an injury, or you have a disorder like an endothelial cell dysfunction, which is a pumping mechanism on the back of the cornea, those things aren't, you know, necessarily immediately treatable because you have to wait till you can find a cornea and then transplant it. And most of the rest of the world, in fact, doesn't even capture corneas in a cornea bank like the United States does. Many markets do. But even here, we don't have enough of them. So one of the things we've been working on is something called cell therapy. And many of you who are familiar with what's going on in cell therapy will know that there's a lot of efforts that have been done. Most of them have been modestly successful. This one is turning out to be really exciting, and we're working very closely as a breakthrough therapy with the FDA on creating a circumstance where we can go into the eye, remove the endothelium from the cornea on a particularly healthy cornea, and then inject cells with a certain drug that will then stick and adhere to the bottom and create new cells that will actually begin pumping again. So it's pretty cool, because what you end up doing is you end up creating a functioning cornea that you don't have to replace. And that is probably going to save probably 50,000 corneas a year in the United States, and probably will open up the whole world for corneal transplants in markets where you just can't get a cornea. So it's really exciting to talk about. So we're excited about that. On the other side of this business is kind of the AI world and the innovation front, which we, I think a lot of people understand our equipment. We make some of the best microscopes in the world. We do. We have the best phaco machine in the world. We have, clearly a great deal of stuff on the diagnostic side that gets your pre-op measurements and gets you through that process. But what's really interesting these days is moving that data from the office to the cloud into the OR, and then creating algorithms that can predict the outcome of your surgery and pick the lens that you need correctly for the surgeon. That's a really big deal. And so what we're seeing is kind of about a 10-point improvement in 2020 outcomes post-operatively, because we're beginning to use AI to predict what your outcome is going to be. So if we can measure the cornea right, we can measure the distances in the eye right, we can feed that into algorithms, we can then select the IOL, based on those technologies and measurements, and then predict, and then learn that process over a long period of time, recommit that data into files that we can then work on. All that work is getting done now, and we've got probably 3 million patients or so right now we have captured data from, that we're training the models on, which are improving outcomes. There's no average surgeon, so excuse my average commercial here, but there is a bell curve of outcomes for patients, and right in the middle, you're at 20/20, but there's a big chunk of people that probably 80% of people get 20/20 post cataract. But our belief is we can move people probably from about, on average, move that to the right by about 10 to 12 points if we do this well. So that's a big change for people who won't need glasses post cataract, and that's an exciting opportunity to use data. I could go on and on about our product flow that's inside of each one of those, but I think the cool part of that is the ability to move data, use data, and then actually improve outcomes. So very exciting times for us. I would be negligent if I didn't say, part of our excitement, about being back, and focused on this community is that we get to do things like this. And, we've been working with the Fort Worth ISD now for, 5 years or so. And they've been terrific, by the way. And so have, a number of other folks that have been, volunteers in this area. But as of today, as of really like about 2 years ago, we started it, we piloted it, and then we got it moving. But we're basically screening every child from kindergarten through the 3rd grade for any kind of ocular disorder, but principally to see if they need glasses, because a lot of these kids don't know that they don't see well. And a lot of times teachers would just say, come up here, sit in front, you'd be a little closer to the board. But that's a miss. And so we've now, I think every year we do about 30,000 kids. We've been really excited to see that we've now got a clinic that we fund with 3 optometrists that are doing just the eye exams for those kids. And we're also working with Lighthouse for the Blind, for those of you who don't know that one. Really exciting group. These guys are low vision experts, but they're creating the glasses. So it's a full circle idea where we're using our local folks. We're getting these kids screened. All of our employees are the ones that do the screening itself. Then we get the optoms to do the actual exam. Then we get the local folks to make the glasses, and then we kind of get them back to the kids. And it's pretty cool to see it when you see it all come full circle. So really cool program. We're actually expanding this into Mexico City soon, which is we have a fairly big presence in Mexico. And Mexico City, we're going to work on same idea with some adjustments, but we're trying very hard to make sure that we get kids to read early, because I think if you know this, you probably know this point, but from about, kind of up through 2nd grade, kids learn to read, and after that, they read to learn. And if you don't get them reading by about 3rd grade, the recidivism and the challenges that you run into after that become very significant. So we're working real hard to try and get everybody to read, as fast as we can. So really cool program. Another one that we're doing around the world, and again, this is just us trying to do what we do. We spend a lot of time on missions. We fund a lot of them. There is an organization called Orbis, which has a flying hospital on a 747. We have all the equipment in there. We train the docs to go around the world. Missions to almost every difficult part of the world, and we do free surgery for those that need it. So there's a great deal of programming that's coming out of the Alta Mesa, kind of freeway area that is touching the world, and we're real proud of that. So anyway, I would just say that this is us. We've been in this community for a really long time, and we're always pleased to be able to say we give back a little bit, but always a pleasure to be with Rotarians who do the very same thing. So thank you very much, and happy to take any questions along the way. Please. I don't think there is anybody at our facility. There is a website. Our website has a patient portal, and you can go and explore. And I think even in those, there's definitionally a number of categories of things that you can find. And there is a physician referral for you put in your zip code, and it gives you. We're unbiased on this point, so you're going to just get a list of folks that are closest to you. But that's a way to do it. Of course. You had a question there.
First of all, thank you for everything you all do here, especially for the kids. You all are kind of quiet in the community. Compared to like Miller Brewing Company or Lockheed, how many people do you employ and what economic impact do you make?
The second part I don't know. We employ about 5,000 people, just south of here, that are on campus for us. We have facilities all over the world, and so we have about 30,000 full-time, part-time folks. So it's a part of where we are, but it is our single largest location anywhere in the world. And the economic impact, I'm not really certain to be careful about what that means here. Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a really exciting place to be, and I think everybody, once you get people in Fort Worth, they never want to go anywhere. It's a beautiful place. Yeah, come on.
Can you speak a little bit about the new eye drop that's supposed to come out that's correcting vision for 10 hours at a time, where you wouldn't have to have contacts or glasses, where you guys are in that market?
Yeah, we passed on that product. It hasn't performed in a way that I think you'd be pleased with. So I would just say directionally, there was some macular tears that came because as a consequence, it had a little bit of trouble with it. So it hasn't done real well. It was sold by the AbbVie folks up in Chicago, and we followed that one. We had some choices around that one we picked correctly. Yeah.
It seems like I've seen where eye transplants have been attempted, but maybe not successful. What's the status of that kind of science?
Which transplant?
Transplant, like getting a whole new eye.
Whole eye transplant? Almost inconsequential right now, but there's a very, very cool program. There's several of them that people are working on, actually. Retinal nerve stimulation, where you've got, it's not an eye transplant, but what you're doing is you're stimulating the optic nerve absent the eye. So you take the eye out and you stimulate the eye, and then electronically you're getting movement, and you can see kind of shadows and or movements. So it's a long way from being, something you might imagine as a bionic eye. But it's a real progress point, because just even movement, so that you could miss something is helpful. But it's really, really experimental right now, and I think it's done in, I think Mass Eye and Ear is doing something, and I know the Singapore folks are doing some stuff. So it's interesting stuff. A long ways off, I think, still. Yes, sir.
Actually, I want to point out that you are very active from a community support aspect. You've got one of those Wednesday machines. It's the only not in a hospital setting at Cornerstone, where you're for folks that are not well healed. And then you have 5 full Crystal Reed teams of inner city kids. You're the largest teams that
Yeah.
work experiences as well as academic excellence in all the lines.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. I may have misunderstood your question. I thought you were talking about economic impact, and I don't know the answer to that one. But in terms of community involvement, if that's where you were headed.
I said
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I mean, here's been our thing, and again, I'm always careful around this one, but look, some time ago, we did a lot with Bass Hall, we did a lot with, we did a lot with the zoo, we did a lot of things around the community. One of the things that I tried to do when we brought it back in and out of Novartis was return this to our core mission, and I have a point of view on this, it's not everybody's, but it's mine, which is that corporate responsibility, if everybody did what they do really well and they did that for the community, then everybody'd be okay. And what we have a particularly unique skill at is screening kids, or we can volunteer, we can do some things like that. We take a volunteer day, we give everybody a day off to volunteer in anything we want to do, but generally speaking, we don't, like the foundation that we have does 80% eye care stuff. And we're trying to do that to try and leverage the things that we know, and then we encourage, I encourage everybody who runs their own business to do, if you're in the housing business, build something. If you're in the food business, do something with food that distributes food. I don't know anything about distributing food, but it's important, but there are a lot of people who know that stuff. And so, our unique gift, needs to be that we can bring more eye care to people who need it, and we can do that, and we can do that better than anybody else. So we've redirected, candidly, a lot of effort out of some things that are probably more high profile into things that are probably a little bit less, less profile. We don't make a big scene about it, but I do think it's purposeful, and I think it jives with where I think our employee base want to go. And when you see a little kid stand up on a box and try glasses on for the first time, and he's seeing a board for the first time, that's worth doing. And then you kind of know. One more, okay, one more. There we go.
Which countries and which companies are your biggest competitors on research and new ideas?
Countries are difficult because companies are easy. J&J's got the most going on. They're the biggest by a lot. But Zeiss, which is a German company, some of you may be familiar with or not, is also really very competitive with in the research area. They tend to work more on the equipment side in the diagnostics area. J&J is kind of comprehensive. It can kind of do everything. I mean, the next wave of really interesting stuff, honestly, is going to be robotics, and robotic surgery and cataracts is coming. We've got small investments in 2 companies, around the world. Geographically, I would say that we worry mostly about what we don't know in the Asia markets because we're not close enough to it. So we just had this conversation recently around we need to get closer to Singapore. We need to get closer to what's going on in Beijing. There's a lot of research going on in that part of the world that is a change from 20 years ago. And so we're very familiar with what's happening in the United States and what's happening in Europe. Where we're not as good, I think, and we're not paying enough attention is, the kind of quote unquote crazy ideas that are going to actually work, that are coming out of some of the areas that we aren't as deep in. So that's probably my best guess. All right, I think we're gonna, oops, this lady back here is just dying.
Go ahead.
All right.
A quick comment. I'm Meredith, and I'm with the Children's Health Foundation.
Oh.
I just wanted to thank you, as far as local community engagement, here, work closely with Alcon Foundation, and they fund generously every year through grant funding our Alexander Vision Center, and then they also work very closely with us on Alcon and Action Day each May, providing volunteers in different capacity, both at the hospital and also even involving everyone down on the assembly lines that can't leave the forward location, providing them an opportunity to give back as well. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you so much, David. It's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to make a contribution in your name to the Polio Plus Fund of Rotary International, which has been fighting to eradicate polio for 35 years. And thanks to Rotary's involvement, we've been 99.9% successful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being.
Please come back again. We appreciate David sharing your message today, and I'd also like to thank David and Dr. McDonald for the books. Please be sure and stop by and pick up one on your way out, and I believe he said he would sign them. So as we close, we have just two final announcements. First, a final thank you again to R.D. Howard Construction. Randall, we appreciate your support and are happy that you're a Rotarian. Next, on September 12th, our speaker will be Erica Garza, President and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Fort Worth. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for being here. Our meeting is adjourned.